If crocheting is bad, I don't want to be good, so let's just be naughty together. Hello, my name is Sig. This is Crochet and Fiber, and you of course are always welcomed here. Today is Yarn Talk, and at the end of every Yarn Talk, I explore a new indie dyer, or in today's case, a couple of indie dyers, right? One that I have highlighted before, and another one that's brand new. And really, we're looking at luscious, yummy yarn. But before we get into that, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about free crochet patterns for Halloween. Now, we see a lot of videos out that talk about free patterns, and they send you off on all these different links to all these different channels that are, shall I say, less than honest about the actual freeness of the pattern. In fact, oftentimes we find that the pattern was stolen from a legitimate designer and then offered up for free. Now, of course, we all appreciate the designer's work, obviously, or else it wouldn't have been stolen. However, that's not okay. Stealing from the original designer who didn't offer that pattern for free is still stealing, and nobody likes a thief, no matter how harmless you think it may be. This person, if you like their work that much and you like the pattern that much, spend the few dollars they're asking for, because they spend a lot of time. They have invested a lot of time and gained a lot of experience, and this is basically their intellectual property. This is something that they rely on in order to help better their lives, and they're offering you a product that presumably is bettering your life, and that's worth something. But I digress, because I'm going to talk to you about patterns, now that all that is out of the way, about patterns that are free, that you can actually find on legitimate sites, company sites, and they offer these patterns for you to just simply download. Sometimes they ask that you include your email address in exchange for access to these free patterns, and other times they just simply let you download the pattern. And these companies, they're big companies, they're big names, they're not the usual small person. And in this way, because they're not some off person off on the internet who's stolen someone else's pattern, you can feel pretty confident that the patterns they're offering for free are just that. They're a free pattern for your personal use, and I think that's pretty fabulous, especially if you're brand new and you want to try out a couple of different styles before investing too much money into something you may not be that interested in or keen on after you give it a try. Or maybe things are a little rough, maybe things are a little tight, maybe your money has to go somewhere else and you just don't have the funds to spend on let's say a book, for example, where in the book there's only one pattern that you specifically wanted the whole book for. So that can be kind of rough, or maybe it's a rough spot in the month, but you want a little something to do. So all of these things are great. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you the very first company that I've got in queue. And this company is Hirschner's. Now, Hirschner's, of course, you can purchase yarn from them. They offer all sorts of different crafts and yarn and thread to purchase from their store, an online store. And they're usually pretty reasonable, and they're always running a sale. So they're certainly worth checking out. But here I'm going to give you a quick little run through of just a few of the patterns I picked to highlight in this video. Now, the next company I'm highlighting is Hobby. Hobby, I like purchasing from them too. I've purchased from Hirschner's. I like purchasing from Hobby's better. They offer yarn that I'm interested in working with usually and most often. And they too offer a variety of free patterns. They have patterns you can pay for, and they also offer patterns that are free. Now, just a quick reminder, because I don't think I said it before, I'm not sponsored by any of these people. These are just my picks and my choices and some of the companies that I have personally purchased products from and downloaded some free patterns on occasion from as well. And I have found them to be perfectly perfect. I'm not unhappy with these, and I'm pretty confident that none of the patterns they offer on their sites are violating anyone else's intellectual property. So let's just go ahead and see what Hobby has to offer us. So far as you can see, there has been quite a variety of options. Now, what I'm showing you is just a few of the things that I found. Their sites are just full of all sorts of options, and so I encourage you to check them all out. So now the next company I'm going to highlight here is a company by the name of Lindy Hobby. Now, I don't know too much about them. My daughter turned me on to them. She's a knitter, but like everybody else, you know, she's working a tight budget too, and being a knitter, she usually stays away from the lesser, more, let's say, affordable craft yarns you find at places like Michael's or Joann's. And so she typically wants a higher quality of yarn, not because she's snobby, but because she has a lot of autoimmune issues. And because of those autoimmune issues, she's very particular about the way yarn feels against her skin. But what she likes to have and what she can actually afford are very two different things. I think we can all relate to that one. However, she did turn me on to this store because they sell a lot of natural fibers at a very reasonable price. So for those of you who are interested in checking that out, they also offer a nice variety of free patterns as well. It's not as many patterns as you might get from one of the other stores that I'm highlighting, but they are available to you. So let's take a look at what Lindy Hobby has to offer us. Okay, so now let's go on to a store we're all familiar with, a brand that we all have used, I'm sure, and they offer at least one or two yarns that we love, and that would be Lion Brand. And Lion Brand has quite a selection. Now, just keep in mind that these free patterns were free. All of the free patterns were free at the time that I made this video. Now, with some of these companies, sometimes the patterns are only free for a limited amount of time, but they always have something free. So that's another reason why I encourage you to go and take a look. You never know what you're going to find. So let's just get into seeing what Lion's Brand has to offer us for this season. And then last but not least, Yarnspiration's website. Yes, and they have patterns that go on for days and days and days. They have a huge amount of patterns to access. And I'm talking about the free ones. So they're definitely worth checking out. They are probably the king of patterns in terms of the companies I'm highlighting for you today. And who knows, they may be the king of free patterns compared to all the other companies. I don't know. I just know they have them for days. So here's just a few of what I selected for this video. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the handful of free patterns I showed you that were available. These are really free. You can go straight to these websites. You're not going to get bombarded by a bunch of advertisement, and you're certainly not going to have to wonder if you're actually participating in the thievery of somebody else's design, somebody who never planned or gave permission to have their design offered up for free for the promotion of another person's website. Okay, yeah, so since we've finished that bit, let's just move right on to what is typically my favorite part of the month, and that is the unpackaging and the reviewing and the discussing of brand new hand-dyed indie yarns. Okay, back again. One of my favorite times of the month. You know, yarn time. Once a month, I open up mystery yarn. Yarn that I'm excited about. Sometimes it's not so mystery. I kind of know what I'm getting. But other times, it's mystery. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. So this time I have yarn from 2 different indie dyers. The first dyer that I have yarn from is Sleepy Shire. And this one I kind of know what it's going to be. It's sort of a Halloween-y theme. I wanted to give this yarn a try. I wanted to check it out. And so we'll explore that here in just a minute. I'm really excited to see what it looks like in real life. All right. And then the next yarn is from a dyer that I have gotten yarn from before. It's Melissa's Yarn Barn. She does the subscription boxes, and basically I purchased her years of seasonal boxes. So basically there was the Valentine, and then there was the spring box, and then there was the summer box, and now we're going into the autumn box. And I'm excited to see what that is, because those are actually mystery boxes. And as I have explained before, these ones really didn't come in boxes. They all came in like the same bag, but they came in order. So what I've been doing is I've been just kind of sticking my hand into the bag without looking and pulling out the yarn and hoping it's the right one for the season. And so far, I haven't been disappointed. So let's just go ahead and get started with that. So don't mind the crinkles, the crinkly sound. I hate it. And I'm sorry if you hate it too. You hear a little bit of it, but I do my best to try and kind of edit that out of the video so we don't have to deal too much with it. Here we go. Here's the first one. This is from Sleepy Shires. And give me just a moment and I'll go ahead and I will open it for us right now. Okay, so I've opened the bag and this is what I've gotten. So the anticipation is really starting to build, yes. And she does write me a little note on the invoice. And she says, "Thank you so much for your order. Enjoy your yarn." So that's nice. A little handwritten thank you is always nice. Now, how she describes the yarn that I ordered from her, she goes on to tell us, hand-dyed worsted weight yarn. So I don't usually buy the worsted weight yarn, but I have a particular project in mind for this. This yarn is dyed in a deep pumpkin orange and light orange brown that ranges between cedar and milk chocolate, some natural colored creamy white, and a light speckling of a very dark brownish black. It's the perfect time of year to snuggle up with some cozy hand knits and hot pumpkin spice latte. This listing is for one skein of a super squishy worsted. The yarn is a repeatable colorway, but due to the nature of the hand-dyed yarn, there may be slight variations from the picture. So that's always interesting to see what the picture looks like in comparison to what the actual yarn looks like. So we did that. And then let me see what we've got. All right. And then the other colorway that I purchased, this is what she tells us about that one. hand-dyed worsted weight yarn because I'm doing a project with the worsted. This yarn is a semi-solid black. This listing is for one skein of super swishy worsted. This yarn is a repeatable colorway. And then I think that's kind of the same thing as before, but due to the natures, yarn may vary slightly with the picture, and that makes sense. So this particular colorway, the black, it's called Lights Out. And then the orange, or the orangey one that I've purchased, and we'll see what that looks like. I'm really excited, is just simply titled Pumpkin. So go ahead and remove the card. And she did a real nice job wrapping this. That was sweet. Oh. And I never can open these things right. Okay, let me see what we got. Ooh, okay. So that feels good. This is the black, the Lights Out, and it's just really pretty much a good solid black, 100% superwash merino. And then for my 100 grams, I'm going to get 218 yards or 199 meters. So I have this slated for a project that I will have a tutorial on, same with the pumpkin. Now, the pumpkin, which is just beautiful and stunning, don't you think? I just love that. And that is also 100 grams. And again, 218 yards and 199 meters for my 100 grams. And look how pretty that is. Look at those two together. Yeah, I'm super impressed. So let me see, how much did I spend? That's probably what everyone wants to know. Okay, so as is typical with the indie dyers, the yarn's not really cheap. So nobody's getting a deal here. Every now and again you can find something lovely on sale, but it's not a regular thing. Sometimes you get a little percentage off if you purchase it through Etsy, or there's some kind of a coupon you can use. But when we buy these indie yarns, just don't go into it expecting any great reduction in price, because it never is. And that's okay, because we're paying a person for their time and their expertise and their particular style. I mean, you may not notice it or you may not realize it, but you know, these dyers all have their own way of dyeing their yarns, and it shows. It shows in the way the colors sort of blend and spread out. You know, it's just like any other artist, right? And so you're paying for that. Now, this artist isn't any less expensive than anyone else. So each one of these skeins cost $29. And in this particular set, there are no extras, you know, no stitch markers, nothing like that. And that's okay. I don't need another stitch marker, really. I'm good. I spend the money because I want beautiful, quality, luxury, for the most part, yarn. Something handmade, something beautiful. Okay, so let's move on to the next yarn. And we've got the bag of the mystery boxes. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reach in and I'm going to get my next yarn. See, let's hope. Let's hope. Yay, it's the autumn. Okay, let me put the rest of that away for next time. And let me go ahead and take the plastic off of this so no one has to listen to the crinkles. So just to let you know before we move on, and especially if you see anything you like, check out these indie dyers shops. Check out what they have to offer. Maybe there's something you'll like as well. Also, as usual, I pin their information into the comment section below. So it'll be pinned. It'll be right there on top if you want to explore them a little bit more. So the first thing I see is a washcloth. So that's nice, in a little kind of a maize color, sort of a wheat colored yellow. That's nice. I mean, I am not going to balk at a washcloth. I always use them. I've got them, and that is a-okay with me. Okay, so let's see what else we're going to get here. Oh, so now this is really an interesting kind of color combination. It is titled Changing Fields, I believe that's what it says. I don't know. Oh wait, maybe we'll try to see if you can see that better. Okay, and again, this is 100 grams. I'm guessing 463 yards. It's a sock weight yarn as per usual. This is what she usually gives. I mean, she tells us that she reserves the right to switch up the yarn weight, you know, because you don't know what you're going to get, and each box comes with something different. So no two boxes are going to be alike, even if they're the same mystery box. And then, as per usual, seems to be her base for her sock yarn. It's going to be 75% superwashed merino and 25% nylon. Now, this is really interesting. So, yeah, I mean, changing fields, I get it. You see a little bit of the browns and kind of the purples in there with this kind of what looks like autumn wheat, and you get a little bit of the greens and a little bit of the more golden colors. I mean, this looks like a field at the end of autumn. I'm telling you, I get it. And it's beautiful, and it's so kind of unique, and it comes across as very experimental to me. So I'm really, really interested to see what this looks like when it's worked up. Very cool. And as usual, we got stitch markers. And this time it looks like I got 2 of the same stitch markers, 2 apples, which is very fall-esque. So those are cute. Again, more stitch markers. Let me put those aside. And again, yeah, so again, I am completely not unhappy at all. Mystery Box was a winner. Sheepy Shire, seeing this in real life, was a winner. Oh, and just a quick note. So the mystery box, this is going to have cost $32. So for this box. And then $29 for each of the worsted weight yarns. And this is just beautiful. What a lovely end to an already lovely video. All right, guys, I think it's time for me to say goodbye for another week. And as usual, I want to remind you, keep a cool head, maintain a warm heart, and never, never take any shit. All right, now, bye-bye. You have a great week.